we talk a lot about, the going rate for quarterbacks. We just did it in that last segment. And it was reported $8 million for 2 years for this kid from Tulane to Duke. Carson Beck, what did you say, $3 million?
$3 million today,
Okay.
it's reported.
You're getting more and more of these reports, and we were discussing off air, why is that? Is that the collective's trying to make a splash? Is that the representatives for these players trying to get other players to go with them? Probably a little bit of both. But in terms of what these prices are, it still seems, I would assume there's not just a going rate for a player. Your value, it's a little like a coach in the NFL. If you're the only coach and there's 5 openings, your value is more than if you're one of 15 coaches that are all viable and there aren't a bunch of openings. So the more you get people trying to fight for you, your value goes up. Mike Matthews this year at Tennessee, based on his numbers, I don't know that you would give him a ton of NIL if you had a loaded receiver room. But he was kind of going to be the last man leaving the lights on. So throw him more money, keep him. Your value changes. Is that the case, or are you starting to get a better idea of, no, outside linebackers are this, strong safeties are this, right guards are this, or is it still just very much?
I think it's all over the place still, but we do have, you do have a better sense now that I think we safely can say if you're a good player in the transfer portal, it's going to be somewhere in the 6 figures. In some rare cases, it's going to be 7 figures. Pretty rare.
6 figures is a big push. Would you say low 6 figures for some, or high? Is it mainly 500 and up?
If you're talking, and again, high school versus transfer portal can be different. If you're a good player in the transfer portal, it's probably closer to mid 6 figures in a lot of cases. So it just depends on, again, it also depends on how good. If you're really good, it's going to creep toward high 6 figures probably. So just
and
depends.
the position.
And the position. And who else is out there at your position. So there's so many factors. Which schools you rope in? Do you get Oregon, Texas, and Ohio State bidding against each other? Or are you mostly dealing with second tier programs that don't have quite the money sitting around to go and make a big aggressive push? So it depends on so many factors, including the market and who else is out there.
You know, it's funny. The NFL is transparent. When you sign a free agent, you know pretty much what the contract is. This stuff to me is very confusing because
And the lack of transparency plays into the value too. I think.
I mean, and I think you're going to have to come to a day. You're talking about public institutions. They're going to have to be transparent. I just think they're going to have to be, at some point, more transparent because I know a lot of people hate it when you say this. It's still a university.
What?
Yeah, I know. That's exactly. That's where I got my degree. That's where you got your degree. I don't know about anybody else sitting here, but, it's still a school. It's still a university. So I think you're going to have some sort of transparency. Because I think it'll just be fair to the people like me who buy season tickets.
But they don't care about the people like you. That's the thing. The other thing, they care about themselves, and they don't. The only way to do that is if these players become employees. Then it'll be on the record.
Which I think that's the direction you need to go sooner
but
than
you know
later.
who's fighting that? The schools
Yeah.
don't
They don't
want
to
that.
go with the TV money.
Yeah.
They don't want to split the TV money.
But if you
I don't
do-
find this interesting anymore as much as I do aggravating. It frustrates me.
I would just say also, I think the schools should have ran, not walked 2 years ago to be able to make them employees because you would
should
have
have
locked
20 years
down,
ago.
probably. You would have locked down a big-time quarterback. Remember when we heard the kid from Wake Forest went to Notre Dame for $1 million? Cam Ward got offered $1 million. I'm like, what, $1 million for a college quarterback? Now it's $3 million for a college quarterback. So the number is going to only continue to go up until you make them employees and you lock them down into contracts. It's just going to continue to go up.
Josh, I'm going to point something out. I'm not throwing you under the bus because we all did it. But I remember we talked about this early on. And we said, it's going to be the Wild West. And you said, it's going to be kids on social media promoting a fast food chain. And I thought, yeah, he's probably right. We were all wrong. It went from 0 to 1 million in 60 seconds, and there's no sign of it slowing down. It continues to get crazier.
Yeah, if you told me that every athlete was going to be on a 1 year, not even a 1 year
Yeah, the
contract, 'cause you can
transfer
transfer
portal.
in the middle of the season to another school, you can hop out. That to me is still what has changed everything. The money is a big deal, of course it is, but the ability to renegotiate nonstop is what has thrown this all over the place.
Right.
In that conversation when we had that conversation years ago,
Right.
that was also before the collective stuff had
Yeah,
come out there. So
sure.
we're all thinking, oh, these kids are going to be cutting their own deals. It's not
Yeah.
going to be that.
Yeah.
And now, who saw the rise of the collective? Who saw the transfer portal being you can go anytime, anywhere?
Yeah.
It's
With the
a-
ability to transfer and play right away, though, this happens, I would say, frequently if we go across the board. Players will agree to a deal with their collective, and then something might change within their own roster, or they might hear from another school again, and they come back to the collective and say, actually, I need this now. So you can go back on your own agreement at the school you already are because you have the ability to transfer and play somewhere else. To the point of contracts and schools will be paying. Schools at some point are going to be paying here very soon. We're already starting to see some schools describe the percentage, but that doesn't mean name, image, likeness opportunities go away. So you still will have
On top of
your
it.
budget of what is spent on your roster. Football will get the most, but there's still the ability to negotiate and put together whatever you can in NIL, actual NIL, to then add on to what star athletes are able to make.
Which would still be off the record. If that
Right.
is a private contract between
Yeah.
a company
Correct.
and
That's
a
not
player.
coming through the university.
That's right.
Unless it's publicly traded, and then maybe you find out that way.
Well, and the
right?
other thing is, we're all looking at it thinking, okay, you could have a deal cut by the end of this year where you're going to be, what is it, the house? What's
There's a house
word?
settlement.
Settlement, yeah, settlement's the word I was looking for. I'm bad with names and words. Other than that, I'm great with language. But the house settlement could make it to where you know exactly how much you've got. Will, my problem with that is, it's just going to take one player and one lawyer to come in and say, you're preventing my client
Right.
from making more money. And all it take, one judge is going to say, yep, you lose NCAA, and all this goes away. I don't see how the House settlement is going to hold. Even if it comes through, I don't see how it's going to hold for long.
It's not. It's a salary cap without a contract. It's not collectively bargained. So the 17 states have already stepped in and said, we will sue you if this gets approved. So if this is what you try to implement. They're not going to try to implement this. I think this will be the revenue sharing piece. And then, like Josh said, you'll have the NIL piece on top of that, where the school still pays another $20 million to football players on top of the $22 million that they're having to lay out. I think they'll use this to pay women's players so that they don't get sued for Title IX and things like that. And football, men's basketball probably come out of another pool.
And just to add to the complications, I think on top of the maybe the desire for rising costs, you've also got donor fatigue that's a real problem and concern. And at what point, I mean, these are not tax deductible donations to a private business essentially. How long can donors really keep this up, and will they want to? That's the other part of this we don't know.
We need your money because we're building a new facility. We need your money because we want to keep this coach. We need your money to go to these NIL players. It's a lot.
Yep.
It's a lot. Oh, and we need 10% on a ticket. There's a talent fee on top of your tickets now, too.
And also the frustration for a lot of people on top of this is, oh, we need your $2 million, but we're not going to tell you exactly how we're
What
spending
it's
it.
going for.
Remember the good old days when we talked about who the backup guard was going to be?
When
Do we have a center?
Here's one. This is fun. I always love being Mr. Negative. Here's a great one. And I didn't come up with this one. I just thought it was fun to discuss. When we come back, could Tennessee actually be so good that it's a bad thing in NIL? I love that. Come back. We'll tell you how I'm trying to make you mad.